R2, I said we're doing Bowser, not Bowset. No one wants to see Bowset made out of nanobricks. Hey everyone, and welcome to Groove Builders, the show where we create together. I'm your host, Disorderly Cone, and in this episode, we're going to be building our third nanobrick model, Bowser. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty excited to see these because these are usually extremely detailed and quite big too, Groovers. Let's get down to the workbench and take a look at Bowser.
Alright, Groove Builders, welcome to the workbench. If you've ordered the Bowser from Balody, this is what you're going to receive. That's right, just a giant package full of other bags. Let's go ahead and open this up. We have our instruction booklet. And we have all of our microblocks. And look at all this. It actually looks a lot less than Stitch was. Let's go ahead and open up all of these bags here, organize our bricks, and get building. Now, just like with Stitch, I've looked at all of these bags extremely closely, looking for any kind of indication showing which bag maybe needs to be opened first. But unfortunately, there is nothing here, so we have to open up all of this chaos and organize each brick into the respective color. But just like this, you'll see it makes it a lot easier for us to be able to find the pieces we need when the instructions call for it. I'm starting to think that this might be a characteristic of these Balody models. It's not a bad thing, it just means that there's going to be a lot of parts everywhere when we're building, and if you choose to open one bag at a time, you might find yourself getting frustrated when you can't find one part, because you know as well as I do it will be in the last bag you open, not the other two before that. But getting back to our Bowser build, I'm going to go ahead and say that these feet are a little bit tricky, just because you're trying to line up all the pieces at the beginning and you have nothing to stick them together. This can definitely be a little bit frustrating, but bear with it, it will get a lot easier as we go. And yes, as you just seen, just like before with Stitch, we're having to clean up some of our bricks. So it's very useful to have some kind of tool around that can help you get all these excess bits of plastic out of the bricks. I would recommend some wire cutters that we use with our metal models, or even some scissors at home if you don't have those laying around. And it is very important to make sure that all of our parts fit very well together. These bricks tend to be a little bit softer than your normal Lego brick if you want to use that as your standard. And because of that, the more times that we put them together and take them apart, the less friction they have keeping them together. It's really not that bad, and especially if you're using this just as a one-time build, you'll be fine. But if you're looking to rebuild this multiple times, I'm going to let you know that these bricks will wear out pretty quickly. The instructions that came with Bowser are very similar to the ones that came with Stitch, at least in the layout and how they're of course read. Let's take a look at them together. R2, can you give us a hand? Aw, thanks buddy, those look pretty good. Now one thing I will say right away is that we couldn't find these instructions anywhere on the interweb, so we had to take a picture, and that's why they don't necessarily look that great. My instruction booklet was completely worn by the time I took these pictures. So again, I do apologize, but nevertheless we can see everything that we need. For instance, the interesting way they have all of their instructions laid out. At first glance, it looks pretty busy and a little bit confusing, but upon a second look, you might see that it's actually pretty easy to follow. All of the bricks that we're building with are in color. All the bricks that we've used in the past steps are all white. This allows us to be able to see where our new bricks are going. But I did find myself counting the little nubs to make sure that I was putting all the bricks in their proper spot. You can also use the side of the bricks to help you locate exactly where each brick needs to go. With these microblock builds, I find sometimes you might not notice you've made a mistake until about 2 or 3 steps later. This can definitely be annoying, and the only way to avoid it is to count and of course double check your work. I found myself especially misplacing blocks on these hands right here. I don't know if it's because of how the instructions are listed, or maybe just how I was counting at the time. Whatever the reason, I found these hands to be a little bit more difficult than the rest of Bowser, so you might want to pay a little bit more attention in these areas. I think difficulty though should almost be expected when we're talking about one of the biggest, well-known bad guys out there, Bowser, or King Koopa, depending on where you are. This Mushroom Kingdom bad guy has immense strength, breathes fire, and is nearly indestructible. He can jump surprisingly high for his size, although he can't run very well, relying on ships sometimes to get away. He is also rumored to be a master of black magic, allowing himself to be teleported around or sometimes summon objects on the fly. He has generated a lot of energy with just his body and can also use telekinesis. Overall, I would say he's a pretty scary dude, but in game, maybe not. Bowser's physical size tends to vary game to game. In most games, he tends to tower over the majority of the characters, but there are exceptions. But what are his motives and what drives his evil? Well, Bowser wants to take over Mushroom Kingdom and merge it with his own realm. He is in love with Princess Peach, even though he may not want to admit it, and routinely kidnaps her as part of his plan for domination. Sometimes he even kidnaps Princess Peach just to lure Mario into a trap, but most of the time, he's just trying to marry her.
We did it, Groove Builders! We built Bowser out of nano bricks, and if you ask me, this looks absolutely fantastic. Just look at all the detail, especially on the back there. That's very cool. Let's talk about what it took to build Bowser in construction. My first point when it comes to building Bowser is about the bricks themselves. I found them to be a lot softer than a lot of the other bricks we've used in past models. And because of that, the first couple of stages where you're starting with the feet are a little bit difficult. But once you get onto the main body, it becomes very easy to handle. And these soft bricks do feel nice on your fingertips, so that's kind of an added bonus. My second point is more of a building tip. If you're not planning to go ahead and rebuild these time and time again, you might want to go ahead and glue these together. I find that some of the bricks here don't really stay on the greatest because the plastic is so soft. And again, if you're not looking to maybe keep this totally built the entire time, you might want to go ahead and just glue it all together. My third and final point is about the instructions themselves. They can be a little bit tricky to read, so I recommend taking your time and also taking out all the bricks you're going to need for each individual step. This will help you keep track of where all the bricks are going to be going and if you missed any while you're on that step. And with that being said, Group Builders, let's move on to build time. Bowser took me just over 4 hours to build, and I think that's going to be about average for most builders out there. However, I think I could have gone a little bit faster if I wasn't fiddling with my camera through most of the build. That being said though, you really don't want to rush these builds because even missing just one brick can throw off the entire model. And nothing is worse than having to take everything apart just to get to that one brick and replace it and then build everything again. You just don't want to waste your time with that, Groovers, so take your time. And finally, Group Builders, my thoughts. Bowser from Balody, just like Stitch, was a ton of fun to build. I really do like these nano brick figures. I mean, they're really neat and they look really good when they're done, especially if you're going to be putting them on a windowsill or maybe on a desk somewhere. If you're interested in picking these up, I would say go ahead and do it. But just make sure that when you're looking at the detail online that you understand that they're going to look a little bit bricky. That's why I think Bowser looks so good, is because he was kind of designed this way anyway, but if you're trying to get one of the more smoother surface ones, they may not turn out as great as you're expecting. But Bowser here looks fantastic, and if you're looking to pick him up yourself, I would definitely recommend doing so, because you're going to be very pleased with what you have in the end. Alright, Group Builders, that brings us to the end of our show. I had a really good time building Bowser with you, and if you guys had a good time, don't forget to press that like button. For more videos like this, hit subscribe as well, as we got all kinds of really cool content coming out in the future. Until next time, Group Builders, keep building. Now, where am I going to put Bowser? Should I put him on the desk?